Well, good morning. My name is Doug Milloway. I'm the instructor for your SPED 586 class, and looking forward to working with you. Today's session that I'm going to do here is to just kind of go through the syllabus with you and the expectations for the course. There are a lot of things that need to be done even before you get into the work with working with the case study, the IEP, and the evaluation report, all of which are the primary pieces of written work that you'll have to do for the class. Um, you will find that having somebody locally in your school district, school psychologist, special ed person that you work closely with will be very helpful. Having a mentor can make a lot of difference in helping you get through some of these requirements. So, so let me first talk about who I am. I've been a professor here at Concordia for about 8 or 9 years. Been a while. I've been in education for a long time, about 45 years total. I started out as a classroom teacher, then got my master's in counseling, uh, became a school psychologist, and after a period of time, became an administrator. You can see my cat running behind me. Became an administrator, a special ed director, and a director of an education district for several years. Then I retired. Then I unretired, as many of us do, and now I'm working again as a school psychologist. And for this year, I am working as a director for a charter school in St. Cloud. Most recently, I've worked for the all three charter schools in St. Cloud: Athlos Academy, Stride Academy, and St. Cloud Math and Science. Okay, as I live in Avon, you will find my phone number in the syllabus, and feel free to use that. Not a problem to be able to get in touch with me using that. Email, I generally try to respond quickly and kind of go from there. Also, just to let you know too, I have many other passions as well as the area of education. I also am an avid songwriter and musician, and I do a lot with that. So, if you have any interest and you want to find out more about that, let me know. Okay, so today what we're going to do is run through the syllabus, and I'm going to share my desktop, and then we'll kind of go from there. So, first thing we're going to do is go through the syllabus, as I said. So you'll notice that if you go to the Blackboard site, you get to that. This is an asynchronous class, which means, of course, that you'll be reacting to these videos that I'm posting every week and participating through the discussion board. There might be some times where we want to have an individual face-to-face, just to kind of keep things kind of going. So um, feel free to let me know if you need more direct help with this. All right. So SPED 586, 3-hour semester course, asynchronous, 8 weeks. So weeks 1 to 7, as it said, are Monday through Sunday, with week 8 being Monday through Wednesday. That's really not a big issue, except for it just extends it out another week so that you can get your assignments in. You know, if there's a problem, and gives me a little bit of cushion for grading. Okay, so first thing I want to do is talk about the program essential question. And in light of what is known about special education law and policies, what are the best practices for providing inclusive instruction for all learners? This is something that I want you to keep in mind as you're going through the paperwork that you're going to be doing for the class. And it's just for the program for special education, just kind of our guiding principle. I'm going to go down to the course requirements and required course materials. Resources are provided in the Blackboard course reading list. And you're going to use the publication manual from the APA 7th edition for any APA stuff. Not as much APA stuff for this class because what you're going to be doing is some projects that involve case study, IEP, and evaluation report. And if you have access to an evaluation report or IEP software like SPED forms, it's perfectly fine to go ahead and use that without any difficulty. The discussion board is a big part of an asynchronous class just because we don't have as much face-to-face. So as a result, make sure you pay particular attention and take a little bit of time to respond to the questions in a thoughtful way. Because this is really the way that I get to know how you're thinking and what you're capable of, as well as the paperwork. Okay, so you notice that the discussion board, it'll be posted right away, so you'll be able to get started as soon as you want to get started. The asynchronous assignments make up 80% of the grade, 570 points. So let's go through those assignments. And there's essentially a few of those assignments. So first one is with the assignment case study, clinical experience. The case study is the kind of the linchpin for what you're going to be doing for the entire course. So you need to take your time to really work this one through, because the process for this is very linear. If you do a good job on the case study, the rest of it will fall right into place. You won't have any trouble. So with parental permission, you will observe, study, and test a regular ed student. And this student cannot be a student receiving special education services or a student with a suspected disability in pre-referral problem solving or concerns expressed. Signed permission must be received prior to beginning this case study, and you need to complete the following components. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is one of the areas that creates a lot of difficulty for some people because of the fact that you're working with a regular ed student on this from this aspect. You oftentimes don't find any difficulties, and as a result of not finding difficulties, it makes it a whole lot more difficult to come up with in the end with an IEP with goals and objectives. So I will be somewhat flexible on this, and we'll talk a little bit more about how we can accomplish that as we move forward in the class. So the intervention of problem solving background information that you're going to get is using something called RIOT. And so that uses the review of records and interview and observation and test. That's the RIOT, as I say, to gather information on instruction, curriculum, and environment, and that's ICE. So it's the RIOT ICE model that you're going to be using for this. And it's laid out in a table, and you'll be able to see how that works as we move forward. So under the review, you're going to gather data using review of records from curriculum, from cumulative file, intervention, and classroom data. Remember, that's interview, so you're going to use the interview form to interview parent, teacher, and student. O is observed. You're going to observe the student in a classroom or home or community setting. You're going to use EBD in this case, observation tool to gather information on presenting concerns. And T, testing, gather progress, monitoring data results from interventions, formative and summative evaluation data, and progress monitoring can include curriculum-based measurement, AIMS, Web, DIBELS, those types of things, and formative and summative assessments, work samples especially, be able to pull some things from that, and parent permission must be obtained if work samples are included. Each of the RIOT procedures must address each area of ICE. Remember, ICE stands for instruction, curriculum, and environment. All right. So the testing recommendation, you're going to select a minimum of at least 3 tests, 3 measures that could include standardized, unbiased, and addresses the specific assessment purpose. A variety of test kits may be available for your school district, and check with the special ed department at your school. So we do have at Concordia a Woodcock-Johnson test of achievement. That's a WGA4. It's available for checkout if you need that. And you can contact Dr. Har for that if you need it. All right, so then you're taking the 3 tests that you're going to do for this. You're going to do one that addresses academics. So that's obviously the WJ4 or something like the Kaufman Test of Achievement, the KTEA. There's other things like the TEMA and the TERA, the Test of Early Math Ability, Test of Early Reading Ability. So those types of standardized academic assessments. And then one assessment to address behaviors. So something like the BASC, the Connors, those types of things. Um, Same thing with the social skills. You're going to get some of that with the BASC and the Connors and other types of assessments that would typically be associated with the EBD area. You can use things like the brief to look at executive functioning. Whatever you come up with that you think is going to meet the needs for your meet the purpose for this particular project. All right, so you're going to describe the tests you're going to be using and why you're going to use them and why they're a match for the case study student, and complete the table located in the case study template under the testing recommendation section. So we'll spend some time taking a look at the course resources and course materials. Second assignment is the ESR, or the Evaluation Summary Report. That's worth 150 points. By the way, the first one was actually worth 270 points, so that's the big one. 150 points on the ER and the evaluation report. You're going to administer and interpret the 3 assessments that you chose under the plan previously. And then you're going to use the ER template in the Blackboard to complete the assignment. Be sure to work with your school psychologist throughout this interpretation and documentation. Template and directions are provided. So you're going to complete the EBD eligibility form as well. Make sure that's included in your ER. Okay, the following components, and these are going to be typical of any evaluation report that you do, whether you're doing this for practice or if you're doing it later as part of your job. Some of you are probably already doing this, but the information is background information, the review of records and education history, any educationally relevant findings, the evaluation results, sensory status, evaluation summary, determining whether the child meets eligibility, and any needs that come up as a result of that. Now, because you'll be working with a regular ed student, you may not come up with a lot of educational needs, but then again, you might. So, and you could be flexible with that. And to be perfectly honest with you, you can make some up because when it comes down to the goals and so forth, the IEP, which you're going to write next, without needs, you're going to have difficulty making that work. Okay. So you're going to provide the first 2 pages of the completed test protocols as attachment with the ESR assignment and Blackboard. So you're just going to make copies of the test protocols that you use and attach them. Okay. So you just scan those and upload them with your assignment. All right. Then finally, the third assignment, and there's only 3 for the class, is the IEP. And the IEP is also worth 150 points. Okay. And so with the mock, you got to write a mock IEP addressing academic, social, and our behavioral needs. You're going to use the template provided. This will be a standard spaced IEP. Write 2 academic, social, or behavioral interventions to address areas of possible concern. So in the IEP, as typical for any IEP that you would write, you need the present level, the LRE, or the least restrictive environment. You got to address ESY, extended school year, transition if they're a high school age, and goals and objectives, modifications and adaptations, and then also whether you're going to exempt that child from district-wide assessment or not, and if you do, what the rationale for that is. So that's worth 150 points. And you can see that the IEP and the ER are not worth nearly as much as the case study. Because remember what I said at the beginning: if you do a good job of the case study, the next 2 parts of this will flow really nicely. It's very linear, and you're not going to have any problem with it. Okay, moving on. Okay. You can certainly take a look at the course rubrics, and there's rubrics in there for a discussion board and for the case study, and the ER and the IEP as well. Let's go back to the content page here. And so that was the syllabus. And again, you can click on assignments and it will go through those 3 assignments with you one more time. Don't forget that one of the assignments is not really in here, but part of your grade is going to be those discussion board questions as well. And when you get it, you'll be able to access those up here. Course materials, under course materials, if you open that up, you'll see there's clinical experience assessments, evaluation report, IEP. So these are your things that you want to keep in mind for going through the course. Let's take a look at clinical experience first. You open that up, you got several different documents that you can take a look at. This is a document related to the riot. Remember the review, interview, observation, test. So there's the riot document. Open that up real quickly and you'll see it's just a document that takes you through it in a reading manner. This is the worksheet that goes along with it, and it actually downloads it for you. Let me open that up, and here it is. So it opens up this table, as I had mentioned to you. So you're going to look at review, but you're going to apply the review to the areas of instruction, areas of curriculum, and environment. And the same thing would be true with the other 3 areas. So in each area, then, you apply your results with regard to instruction, curriculum, environment. So that makes this table very nice to be able to follow along and fill in the blanks. Okay. Then you have the case study template here, also a downloadable document as soon as that opens up. There you go. So you can use this format to complete the case study. And again, I'll help you as we move closer to the due dates on that. The other thing is that there's a couple of case study samples in here too, which you'll find, I think, very helpful in how other people have gone about completing that assignment. I would tell you to take a look at those case study samples. There's 2 of them in there sooner rather than later, so that you know what to do. The next thing that's inside there is a cooperating teacher letter. And that's an important piece too, because again, as I said, you're going to be looking for a mentor. So if you read through this and try to select someone to be your mentor, and then make sure that that they get a copy of this particular letter. All right, very good. And then finally, before you start any assessments, as we had said, you'll need to do the parent permission. And this is the parent permission form that you'll be completing prior to getting started with any work with the student. All right, very good. Next, I'm going to close that up. Those are all the course materials and for the, I'm sorry, clinical experience. And then there's other course material for things like the assessments. And so there's Woodcock-Johnson Comprehensive Report Sample, English Learning Resources link, non-biased testing checklist, and an information processing checklist too. That would be more important if you were doing an SLD evaluation. So, but still it could be useful in the EBD as well. So make sure you take some time to look through that. Evaluation report, MDE evaluation report form and guidelines, a form and evaluation report guidance, IEP, and the same general pieces of information there. Okay, and then that's not really important for us here, so we'll bypass that. Okay, so all that's under the course materials. Then you have the course reading list. And the course reading list, this is going to actually open up another resource. And you notice that all the reading is available to you online, which is nice. So you go to week 2 reading. And you'll see that we have several different things here. The nice part about this is all laid out for you. You just need to open those documents and read through them, and then you're good to go with your reading. And it's set up that way for each week. You notice that the first week that you're actually you have some reading due is in week 2. So close that back up. Okay, week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You have reading material that's in there. All right, very good. And let's see, we'll close that up. Whoop, wrong thing. All right, and then let's see. I believe that's all the areas that I wanted to run through there. Um, the other things that certainly you can take a look at will be to go up and make sure that you're following the discussions. Now, for week 1, I don't have the link obviously for this video yet, and I'll have it up in there so you'll be able to check that out. But this is where you access your discussion board questions. You'll see they're in there for each of the week, all the way through 7, 8. Just does not really have anything that you need to worry about at that point. Okay, and then, of course, make sure you keep track of your grades as you're going through this. Right now, you can see there's nothing for me to grade, but that's where you're going to locate your grades. Okay. As I said, you can certainly contact me at any point. The my cell phone number, I'm just going to give it to you verbally here too, is area code 320-267-2540. You text me at any point, call me, whatever you need to do. You can also contact me via the email, and you can also um, just put your question to the instructor under the discussion board. If you notice up here, one of the other areas, questions for instructor, they feel free to use that. As a matter of fact, they actually encourage you to use that as part of the way of communicating with your instructor. All right, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. So we'll get through week 1, and then we will talk a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit more about each of these assignments. And what I'm probably going to do is create a separate video for each assignment so that we can make sure that you're understanding fully what the expectation is and kind of go from there. All right, so have a good first week, and make sure you go through those discussion board posts, and I will talk to you again in a week's time. Thank you.